Indians coming. Indians coming. Nobody running. Make no hoomba. We don't know how. Early in the morning. Up early that morning. 5 already. I got my machete. Unade. Unade. What they say. We on our way. Downtown in ya. Uptown in ya. West Bank in ya. Back to town in ya. Lord, I'm pretty. My big chief pretty. My whole gang pretty. We're the best in the city.
Yes, yes, people. What's good? We're here again. Arawak chat, episode 5 now. Myself, as usual, Copper Hot Step. So on this episode, got the man always in the spot, Chief Inca. What's good, G?
What's going on, brother?
And also with us on Arawak chat for this episode, we got the sis, Copper Fox. What's good?
Peace, family. Peace, peace.
All
We
right.
up in there, you know.
So we're back again, back for some more information. Just put some stuff out there.
Yo,
Uh,
Chad.
yeah.
Wagwan.
What's good, Chad? You're right, man. Yo, Chad was doing some mad stuff on Locono Corner last night. So, if you're not subscribed to Locono Empire, you definitely want to make sure you're subscribed to that channel before this stream is finished. Definitely get onto there and check out the Locono Corner sessions we've been having on there so far. Shout out to Ghost. What's good, fam? Thanks for coming through. Carly, Thanos, what's good, G? What's good? All right. All right, so purpose of today's episode, if you haven't seen the title already, it's called Made in America. So we're going to be looking at America's resources. Obviously, we mean America as a continent. What's good, Elboria? Original Empress Holbert, yes, sis. So we're going to be looking at the natural resources that the Americas has to offer, because common misconception, I think everybody would agree here, is that we were told that, um, we came to the Americas as foreigners, and the reason why we were needed is that we had to bring a whole lot of foreign resources into the Americas to establish it. It gives the impression that the Americas had nothing to offer if it wasn't for foreign influence from slaves that didn't originate from there. But we're going to show you, obviously, that's just not the case. So yeah, hold tight, everybody that's in the chat right now, and with that being said, I think we can go to screen share now. I'm just going to click that now. Right, share. All right. If you can see the screen, just press 1. If you can see my screen, let me know, and I'll carry on. But yeah, what's good? What's good, Chief Inca? What's good, Copper Fox? How you guys been?
We here. We good. It's great to see the family, coming in, showing some love. It's all good.
Yo, Copper, Mr. Upstep, Empress. Yeah, last night we are putting some work, So we not sleep, brother. We not sleep, We not eat, we not sleep. 24/7 we putting work on them blood clot, you see? Yeah, nah, we did a live stream last night. If you guys didn't hit out with me, myself, Copper Upstep, Chad, and DJ Gambler.
And Copper range up, Dinos, please.
Yeah, definitely. Let me do that before we proceed.
Yeah, man. Copy put in the work 24/7.
Peace, I'm just saying, what's up, bruh?
Oh, yes. What's good, bro? I'm just saying,
good?
what's up, fam? Oh, man.
Big up yourself.
How do I wrench you up?
Much respect, man, to our brothers and sisters in the Americas. We love y'all.
Don't worry, Thanos. I will sort you out with a wrench at some point because you definitely need one. But I'm gonna proceed, and because this is going to be a very long one, I won't lie. I've got to pop out this evening, but I still wanted to give you guys a stream, and I was meant to cover this topic on like episode 3. Didn't really get to because one thing just led to another. So let's just kick it off with National Geographic, North American resources. All right. So North America, the third largest continent, extends from the tiny Aleutian Islands in the northwest to the Isthmus of Panama in the south. So, North America's physical geography, environment, and resources and human geography can be considered separately. So, North America benefits greatly from its fertile soils, plentiful fresh water, oil and mineral deposits, and forests. With a strong domestic and export economy focused on this abundant array of natural resources, North America has become one of the most developed regions in the world. So let's look at agriculture. So from the freezing Arctic to the tropical jungles. So look, they're telling you straight there, look, the Arctic is the Americas. North America enjoys more climate variation than any other continent. Almost every type of ecosystem is represented somewhere on the continent, from coral reefs in the Caribbean to the ice sheet in Greenland. These differences contribute to North America's variety of agricultural industries, which are often divided by climate zone, tropical zone, subtropical zone, cool temperate zone, and dry zone. So they're telling you have every type of ecosystem available in the Americas. So in the tropical zones of North America, farmers harvest oranges, sugarcane, coffee, cocoa, and bananas. These crops grow on coastal plains and humid mountain slopes. Cotton and hemp are cultivated in the warmer and drier intermediate climate zones. These crops are important exports for Central American countries. So now, fruits, vegetables, cotton, and tobacco are predominant in the warm subtropical zones of northern Mexico and the United States. Important agricultural areas in this zone include the Rio Grande Valley citrus fruits in the US state of Texas and Mexico, California's Central Valley fruits and vegetables, the Gulf Coastal Plain vegetables, and the sandy valleys of the Appalachians cotton and tobacco. These areas benefit from ample rain and warm air currents. Let's keep going. Agriculture in North America's tropical and subtropical zones is threatened by monoculture. Monoculture is the practice of growing one crop in an area over a long period of time. Monoculture is a risky way of farming for two reasons. First, the soil may lose its nutrients. The nitrogen and phosphates in the soil do not have time to accumulate if the field is not allowed to be fallow or rest. Planting other, less intensive crops can also help the soil recover its natural nutrients. The second reason monoculture puts crops at risk is the possibility of disease. So a disease affecting a single species of plant could devastate an entire crop and the community's livelihood. Planting a variety of crops minimizes the risk of disease. All right, so just to throw on at the end of this here, our people already figured a way around that. They had a system called the Three Sisters. There was three groups of crops, and they would grow all three of these together as a cluster because all three of them complemented each other. One would help the other one grow straight towards the sun. The other one would help enrich the nitrogen within the soil, and this kept all three of them fertile and growing at a similar consistency. So neither was at risk of dying off. So if you look into the three sister crops of the American Indians, you'll find out what that is from there. But let me just continue. Farmers and agribusiness combat the threats of monoculture with the use of fertilizers and pesticides. So fertilizers replenish nutrients such as phosphates and nitrates to the soil. Pesticides target diseases brought by pests of a single plant. However, extensive use of fertilizers and pesticides can have a harmful impact on the environment. So runoff from agricultural fields can pollute rivers, lakes, and the ocean. The contents cool temperate zones are ideal for hardy fruits such as apples and peaches. Important agricultural areas in the climate include the Finger Lakes region of New York in the US, the Niagara Peninsula in the Canadian province of Ontario, the Columbia River Basin in the US state of Washington and the Canadian province of British Columbia, and the valleys of the Appalachians. These areas benefit from excellent drainage and predictable established frosts. So the Dairy Belt, Corn Belt, and Wheat Belt are three agricultural areas in the continent's cool temperate zones.
Guys, to do mentoring.
Muted.
Oh, you're on, Chad. What's good, Chad?
Oh, I'm here. I'm here. I'm just listening.
All right,
Okay, I love you guys. So,
all
Yeah,
right.
mhm.
yes.
No worries, G.
Mute your mic, brother. Mute your mic, brother. Yeah.
All right, let me continue. Sorry, guys. Dairy animals, including cows, goats, and sheep, feed on the hay and hardy small grains that thrive in New England and the Great Lakes, St. Lawrence region along the Atlantic coast. This is the dairy belt. All right, so let's go into the Corn Belt. The Corn Belt, located between the Ohio River and the lower Missouri River, receives ample water and strong summer sun, ideal for corn and soybeans. So now the west of the Corn Belt, the Wheat Belt, stretches from the U.S. state of Kansas through the Canadian prairie provinces of Alberta, uh, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. So this vast area of the Great Plains allows wheat to be cultivated in both winter and spring. Now dry zones, common in the southwestern US and northern Mexico, are ideally suited for livestock ranching. Ranches with thousands of cattle are common in this region. Traditionally, livestock fed on locally grown fodder such as prairie grasses. However, irrigation for fruit and cotton farming has drained water supplies in the region. Native grasses cannot nourish the huge herds of livestock kept by ranchers. Cattle, sheep, hogs, and other livestock are less likely to graze than to eat corn-based feed. In fact, most of the corn grown in the Corn Belt is feeder corn used for livestock feed. Alright, so now we're going to move on to forestry. So forestry is a major economic activity for much of North America. In the United States, the timber industry is strong in the Pacific Northwest, over the Gulf states and South Atlantic coastal plains. So in Canada, forestry is a major industry in the provinces of Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia. Forestry in the management, cultivation, and harvesting of trees and other vegetation in forests. In the Pacific Northwest, for instance, logging companies harvest cedar, fir, and spruce trees. Lumber from these trees is exported around the world for construction, so it's coming from there and going to everywhere else, not the other way around. So some of the continent's largest paper mills are found in these temperate rainforests. In addition to paper mills produce cardboard and fiberboard. Over-harvesting of timber is a concern through North America. The reduction of forested land reduces biodiversity and threatens the longevity of the timber industry. The logging industry and local governments must work together to develop sustainable plans to harvest timber. The Mexican government, for example, created the Pro-Arbol, Pro-Tree campaign with the objectives of conserving and restoring forests. The campaign pledges to plant more than 250 million trees in urban and rural Mexico. The Pro-Arbol also works to ensure that Mexican forests positively influence biodiversity and human wealth. So let's get to mining now. So extractive activities such as mining and drilling dominate the North American economy. Mining provides billions of dollars and millions of jobs throughout the continent. North America is a leading producer of coal used in energy production, bauxite, used to create aluminium, iron and copper, both used in construction, and nickel, used to create steel, which North American companies export around the world. Gold and silver mines operate in the western part of the continent, so look, you've got gold in America already. Visitors to Crater of Diamond State Park, a mine in the US state of Arkansas, can search for their own diamonds, so you have diamonds here already. Extractive activities have been a major part of the economies of North America for hundreds of years. For example, gold mining helped spur development in the US states of California and Alaska in the 19th century. That was the gold rush. Coal remains a primary industry for the US and is often linked with states near the Appalachians. Coal is a type of sedimentary rock found deep underground, formed from the remains of ancient plants. When burned, coal is an excellent source of energy and is mostly used as fuel for electricity generating power plants. Coal can be mined underground or in large open pits. Mining is a dangerous industry. Coal is combustible, meaning it catches fire and explodes easily. Coal dust is toxic when breathed for long periods of time. Mines are vulnerable to collapse. Mining accidents have led companies or governments to pursue regulations that ensure greater safety for miners. So in 2006, for instance, a coal mine in Saco, West Virginia, exploded. 13 miners were trapped hundreds of meters below ground. Only one miner survived. The so-called Sargo miner disaster prompted calls for greater communication and safer technology to be employed at mining sites throughout North America. So coal mining can also have a negative impact on the environment. Mountaintop removal mining (MTR) has eliminated entire mountain ecosystems in the Appalachians. This type of mining also results in coal waste products being stored near public land. Improper storage of these waste products has damaged ecosystems and threatened human health. In 2008, a massive spill resulted in 1.1 billion gallons of coal slurry being released near Kingston, Tennessee. The spill damaged homes and entered into the Emory and Clinch rivers, killing large fish populations and threatening water supplies. Okay, drilling. North America is home to vast deposits of oil and natural gas, which are drilled for energy and fuel. Oil and gas extraction are key elements of North America's economy. The United States, Canada, and Mexico are among the world's top oil producers. The Athabasca tar sands in the Canadian province of Alberta are the world's largest reservoir of heavy crude oil. More than 20 national and international extraction projects are established in the Athabasca tar sands. The extraction and processing of crude oil, however, destroys the area's boreal forests and diverts an incredible volume of water from local rivers. The heavy crude oil from tar sands also emits 20% more carbon dioxide than emissions from light crude oil. Oil and gas extraction is the dominant industry around the Gulf and Arctic regions of North America. Mexico leads other North American countries as one of the top oil exporters in the world, largely because of its reserves in and around the Gulf. Although both the United States and Canada produce more oil than Mexico, they also consume far more. Both countries are mostly importers, not exporters of oil and natural gas. Oil and natural gas, like coal, are non-renewable resources. Global demand for fossil fuels has caused multinational corporations to drill in remote and dangerous regions. Scientists and engineers have developed more complex technology to search for deposits. So oil companies are forced to drill deeper and in more remote areas to extract these resources. The impact of these extractive activities is unknown. However, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in April 2010 has put into question the safety and sustainability of high-tech extractive industries. So Deepwater Horizon was an offshore oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico capable of drilling to depths of 9,100 meters or 30,000 feet. So the rig exploded, killing 11 workers and causing a massive oil spill that took months to control. The impact on the environment was felt in the US from Texas to Florida. So the built environment. North America's high level of economic development has promoted the construction of megacities, engineering marvels, and advanced infrastructure. A megacity is usually defined as an urban area with at least 10 million people. Mexico City in Mexico, New York, and Los Angeles, California are North America's megacities. With 21.2 million people, Mexico City is the largest metropolitan area in the Americas. Industrial growth caused a demographic boom during the last half-century, increasing the area's population from 3 million people in 1950 to its present numbers. As with many megacities, Mexico City is currently experiencing slower growth than in the past. The economy has shifted from manufacturing to the service industry, which includes tourism, education, banking, and sales. More people are moving out of the city itself and into the suburbs. So Mexico City is built on a swampy series of islands in a valley surrounded by volcanoes. As the population boomed, the area's delicate geology led to problems with flooding, runoff, wastewater management, pollution, and earthquakes. Los Angeles, California is one of the fastest growing cities on the continent. LA is the second largest city in the United States with 3.83 million people in 2008. The entire metropolitan area has more than 50 million people, so the city is known as the entertainment capital of the world. With with many motion picture, television, and music production studios established there. So Los Angeles is also considered a majority-minority city as its racial composition is less than 50% white. According to US Census figures, Angelonos of Latino origin account for 48.4% of the population. Toronto Ontario, Canada is also considered one of the most ethnically diverse cities in the world. More than 50% of its population was born outside of Canada. The city's diverse community, low crime rates, clean environment, and high standard of living make it one of the world's most livable cities. Engineering marvels have defined North America over the last century. The Panama Canal, completed in 1914, is one of the most important waterways in the world. Its 80-kilometer, 50-mile length connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through the Isthmus of Panama, making ship voyages dramatically shorter. Ships traveling from the west coast to the east coast of the United States, for example, cut their voyage by 8,000 nautical miles because they are not required to round Cape Horn at the southern tip of South America. So the Hoover Dam, completed in 1936, is another of North America's engineering milestones. Located on the Colorado River on the border between the U.S. states of Arizona and the Nevada, the Hoover Dam creates Lake Mead, one of the largest man-made lakes in the world. The dam is used for flood control, electric power, irrigation, and water supplies. Cities and economic development have spurred North American engineers and architects to construct some of the world's most striking buildings. Completed in 1976, Toronto's CN Tower is the tallest freestanding structure in the Western Hemisphere, standing at 553 meters. All major Canadian radio stations, as well as wireless service providers, use the CN Tower for transmission. So, North America's advanced infrastructure has allowed populations, services, and industries to prosper across the continent. With the first underground line opened in 1904, the New York City subway system is one of the oldest and most extensive public transportation systems in the world. It now has more than 450 stations, more than 354 kilometers of track, and delivered more than 1.575 billion rides in 2009. So other infrastructure systems transport goods. Mexico's state-owned petroleum company Pemex transports crude oil and natural gas through more than 453 pipelines spanning 4,666 kilometers. 667 kilometers. So Pemex is one of the largest companies in the world. All right. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Let's have a look. All right. Oh, what's good, Kerry? What's good, fam? Just seeing that you're in here as well. But yeah, what do you guys think, man? I mean, they pretty much said that the Americas is a self-sustainable place, from what I can see. Yo,
Yo, what one?
yeah. No, I was gonna say, like, yeah, like when I first read all of this, like, I already just, guessed this stuff anyway. But I know when they put it into a picture like that, you know, it, the Americas is a self-sustaining part of the world. Like, it has everything already.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
So it seems a bit strange that they're telling you that all this stuff is already here, but they needed another group of people that were foreign to the land to bring resources from their own native land into the Americas to establish it.
That don't make no blood clot sense to me, brother.
Right.
That's a stupidity right there, man. So you're telling me that these people got their own resources, but you bring in foreigners to bring the next, that don't make no sense. Why?
Yeah, exactly. So you can see from just that article alone, before I even read anything else, but they said you've got your own gold, silver, copper, steel, diamonds, crude oil, natural gas, um,
Everything.
everything that a
Everything.
civilization needs, you already have it.
Everything.
You
Yeah.
always had it.
Everything is provided.
I don't know. We know why they push that for motive,
Yeah,
to focus on on the east and
To
left
focus
the
on
west.
the desert.
Yeah, we know that we don't have nothing.
so they're literally not practicing what they preach, because look, they're telling you somewhere else is the mother of all things, while they're still happy to stay where they're at and sticking their hands into the ground and pulling out all the resources which they've known has always been there. But let's proceed and continue. So this is from. Wait, let me zoom out so I can give you the name. All right, so this is from the Times, London newspaper, 25th of May 1920. And so this particular article I found, they were showing all the different resources that the West Indies has to offer place by place. So it stood out to me straight away. So I'm just gonna run it each island at a time and tell you exactly what they were dealing with. Why they were so interested in this particular portion of the Americas and what resources each of these places had to offer. So we're gonna start off with bananas and sugar. Okay. So millions of coconuts are exported annually to Europe and America. With one possible exception, the Republic of Guatemala, Jamaica produces the finest quality bananas in the New World. Her luscious oranges and grapefruit are sought after. Her spices have made her famous, and in this connection, Jamaica is the only place in which pimento of the proper quality is grown. The coffee trade is once more expanding, and the celebrated Blue Mountain grade is bringing record prices. This year, the coffee shop should realize £300,000, surpassing all previous figures in the history of the present generation. With the decline in cane years ago, vast tracts of land were brought under banana culture, for which a profitable market obtains in Great Britain and North America. Upwards of 30 years ago, the banana served only as an article of diet, particularly for peasants, but a former Cape Cod fisherman, Captain L. D. Baker, was accustomed to visit Jamaica in his trading schooner. Each trip north he took with him bunches of bananas, you see, teeth in Tom. So the fruit jumped into popular favor and larger consignments were shipped. Captain Baker organized the Boston Fruit Company. Banana cultivations in the colony were extended and millions of bunches were dispatched each year to America. The Boston Fruit Company developed into the United Fruit Company, a concern that for years held a monopoly in the fruit trade of Jamaica and other nearby places. But today it has formidable competitors in the Jamaican market, especially from one quarter, the Jamaican Fruit and Shipping Company, in which local capitalists are largely interested. For 10 years, from 1899, Jamaican bananas were conveyed to England by a subsidized line. It was originally started one half the subsidy being paid by the imperial government to stimulate the banana industry in the colony, but a few months after its inception, the loading of the Elder Dempster Company's vessels were placed in the hands of the United Fruit Company. So at present, ships of the Elders and Fifes Company, which is affiliated with the United Fruit Company, transported Jamaica bananas to the English market. If all goes well, this year Jamaica hopes to export at least 16 million bunches of bananas. At a conservative estimate, this trade alone means about £1,500,000. But with the revival of the sugar industry, banana lands in many districts are being used for cane culture. It is no longer a case of the majority of planters putting all their eggs into one basket. Bananas are good in their way, but the future of the colony is bound up with cane, and it is gratifying to note the strides this industry is making. Modern factories are being erected, old mills have in some directions given way to new appliances, and sugar, as also its byproduct rum, is again becoming the staple industry. Last year, Jamaica produced about 50,000 tons of sugar. This year it is hoped that the output will be 80,000 tons. In days long past, the island exported about 120,000 tons of the commodity, and there is no reason why, with further development, this figure should not be surpassed. The British and Canadian markets are open to receive all the sugar that Jamaica can export, and imperial preference will add to the stability of the industry. All right. So, bananas and sugar. So my question to people is: if bananas originated in the Eastern Hemisphere, why do they grow so plentiful in the West, and why are they taken from there?
Facts.
Because it never existed here in the first place.
Facts.
And I want to I want to look at the etymology. I want to look at the etymology of the word banana
Hmm.
because I just want to show people this because we've spoken about this already, but it's good for people to just get a perspective. So wait for this to load up. All right. Actually, no. It was a banana. What is it? Yeah, banana. Actually, yeah, banana. So edible fruit of an endogenous plant of the tropics, 1590s in reference to the plant itself, 1690s, borrowed by Spanish or Portuguese from a West African word, possibly Wolof banana. All right. So they're implying that this is originally a Wolof word, and we know the Wolof are a Senegalese tribe in West Africa. So let me see if I can find the website I want to show you guys, because someone made a comment. Someone made a comment about the origin of the word. But even if we think of planting, let's take planting. Like we covered in, was it episode 2? Yeah, episode 2. You are what you eat. We read that book by Katanga A. Bongo, who said that planting was brought by the South American Indians into Africa, right? So planting comes from the Spanish word platano, and what we were able to work out as a council is that the Spaniards didn't go into West Africa. You know, when the modern Europeans were, you know, setting their foot in there, you know, we had the English who were in there heavy. We had the Germans, we had the French, we had the Belgians, we even had the Italians going into there as well. But there was no mention of the Spaniards going into West Africa as part of that colonization. So why would the Spaniards have a Spanish word for a West African crop in a place they never went to take over? So from that, we was able to see that, you know, the Spaniards went into East Asia and the Americas. That's where they're known for going into. So obviously, you know, that would have to narrow down the origin of the planting to one of two places, and it wouldn't be, that place in the east, well, what they call Africa. Ah, here we go. So here, um, this is it. This is it right here. Let me just find it. But yeah, are you guys able to look in the comment section and just see what's good?
Yeah, man, no problem, family.
All right. Okay, yeah. This is what I wanted to show people. Okay. So look, right here, I'm gonna retake this part right here. So compared to other African languages, Wolof has had a relatively large influence on Western European languages. Banana is a Wolof word in English, and the English word yam is believed to be derived from Wolof, fuller, nyami, to eat food. Alright, come on man. Who uses the word nyam to eat food? Who does that?
Well, West Indians. Yeah, I got some food, man. What do you mean?
Alright, I'm glad you just jumped straight in there and just cleared that up very quickly, because look, you can see the foolishness already. So look, again, I'm going to take you to a continental African. They're going to give their opinion on the situation. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but anytime we've been on the panel, if we talk about that side of the world, we let those people speak for themselves. We let them tell it from their own words. We showed you that blog about Aki not being eaten by West Africans. A continental African told you that. It wasn't us. So look, I'm going to take you to a continental African again. Here she is right here. Look, she says, I'm a former linguist who has always been skeptical of blanket assertions of African origins of common words. When I asked how, I always got vague answers. So, I'm suspicious of claims that the American word yam harks back to Wolof. I'd want evidence of Wolof slaves or influence among African Americans. I'm going to read that again. I'm a former linguist who has always been skeptical of blanket assertions of African origins of common words. When I asked how, I always got vague answers. So I'm suspicious of claims that the American word yam harks back to Wolof. I'd want evidence of Wolof slaves or influence among African Americans. Look, she said she wants evidence that the Wolof were taken as slaves.
Yep. Or influence among Americans. African and
Right.
African Americans.
She's saying she
Because
wants to see evidence that Africans were taken as slaves to influence the culture of a so-called African American or American Negro today. Remember, look, I didn't say this, that the continental African said that.
exactly,
So, boy, do
exactly.
what you want with that, you know what I'm saying?
Copper with the lava. Burn them down.
Do what you like with that one. Let's keep it going. So now, same newspaper. This is about the Bermudas. All right. So the Bermudas naval and military base. So the Bermudas are in the Western Atlantic Ocean, being 667 miles from New York and 2,858 miles from England. They comprise about 100 islands, of which only about 16 are inhabited, the remainder being simply rocks. The entire area is 41 square miles, the population being about 20,000, a large percentage of which is white. The barrier reefs and dangerous channels to be negotiated by vessels entering port help to provide a natural defense for this naval and military base. So Hamilton is the capital, and the governor, who is always a military officer, is commander-in-chief of the land forces. The headquarters of the North American and West Indian Naval Station are at Bermuda. In 1868, the largest floating dock in the world was towed from England to the colony, but years ago it was found to be too small for the requirements of the naval force in these waters, and so it was superseded by a larger structure. In 1903, when warships and European infantry were withdrawn from these outposts of empire, the Bermuda establishment was reduced. But in 1913, the colony again came into prominence. Today, the naval yard is in full operation and an admiral superintendent resides ashore. Bermuda was discovered by a Spaniard named Bermudez in 1527, but the islands were not colonized until 1609, when Admiral Sir George Somers and a party were shipwrecked there. Some of the principal islands are Somers, Somerset, Boaz, and Island. Onions, potatoes, vegetables, flowers, and Easter lilies are cultivated, a large amount of each being shipped to the United States and Canada. No rivers are to no rivers are to be found. Tanks are constructed to store rainwater for domestic use. Bermuda is a famous resort for Canadian and American visitors. Well-appointed steamers ply between the principal island and North America. The colony is unique in one respect: motor traffic is not allowed. Only two cars were at first introduced into the colony, but they were promptly purchased by the government and shipped back to the States. In addition to the House of Assembly, there are two other chambers: Governor and Executive Council and Legislative Council. While in 1917 Bermuda imported close upon £125,000 worth of goods from the British Isles, and in 1918 £75,340, the exports to the United Kingdom in the first named year only accounted to £2,138, and in 1918 to £2,263. Alright, so St. Vincent. Let me just blow this up a bit. Okay, so St. Vincent, 150.5 square miles in area, was discovered by Columbus in 1498 and came into British hands in 1668. There were struggles between Caribs and French. In the early history of the island, for the mastery, bands of settlers being at times butchered by the savages who inhabited the place. Later on, the British contended with the French for St. Vincent, and the island changed hands more than once. The colony has a population of about 49,000. It is known for its forests, and arrowroot, cotton, and sugar form the chief exports. The capital is Kingstown. The climate is all that can be desired. The island has had its period of disaster, for in 1902 the Soufri volcano, which had been quiescent for upwards of 100 years, became active. So at least 2,000 persons perished in the northern districts, for it was that direction that the crater belched forth its molten lava. Let me just go down. Which raced down the slope, overwhelming everything in its path. The volcano has since been quiet. The lava has, however, added to the fertility of the soil. St. Vincent not only produces the best quality sea island cotton, but its maize is also of the highest grade. Factories have been established there for the curing of corn and production of meal. So again, you know, Why would corn grow so well in a place where apparently it doesn't come from? Alright, let's keep going. Anguilla. So Anguilla lies 60 miles to the southwest of St. Kitts. It is 16 miles long by 3 miles wide and has a population of 4,000 souls. Cotton is its chief product. Antigua. So Antigua is part of the Leeward Islands. The Leeward group of islands compass Antigua with its dependencies, Barbuda and Redona, Dominica, Montserrat, St. Kitts with its dependency, Nevis, and also the Virgin Islands. Antigua is the seat of the governor, and each presidency has its administrator or commissioner, as the case may be. Up to 12 years ago, Antigua had a representative government, but it surrendered the constitution in favor of crown government with a purely legislative council. St. Kitts is out for representative government and has sent a memorial to His Majesty the King on the subject. So Antigua is about 108 square miles in area with a population of some 13,000 persons. Barbuda, its dependency is 60 square miles in area with 1,000 inhabitants. Redona, a rocky islet, is uninhabited. The capital is St. John's, which possesses a fine harbour. The chief products are sugar, cotton, and citrus fruits. Cattle breeding is a profitable industry. At English Harbour, which possesses an antiquated dockyard, Nelson refitted his fleet during his chase after the French in the West Indies and just before his voyage to Natal. Antigua possesses the first government-aided sugar factory in these colonies. It was established 15 years ago, the government granting £15,000 to assist the enterprise, which was purely cooperative. It was a modest beginning, and thanks to the introduction of scientific methods, so there we have that, Antigua. Culture in the West Indies was mainly responsible from about 1,600 tons of sugar produced in the first year. The output has steadily increased. The works have been enlarged, and now the factory handles about 12,000 tons of sugar per annum. So onions are produced in the colony in large quantities, and an association of growers now handles the product on a profit-sharing basis. The colony's financial position is given. There you have it down there. So that was Antigua. Alright, moving on. Grenada. The Grenada's area is 133 square miles with a population of more than 71,000 persons. It is situated 90 miles north of Trinidad and was discovered by Columbus on his third voyage to the Caribbean. At first, in French hands, the British flag was hoisted there in 1762, but 17 years later the island was once more in French possession. In 1783 it was restored to Britain, soon after to be the scene of a slave rebellion known as the Brigand War, in which the lieutenant governor and many others were massacred. The disturbance was quelled by troops sent to the island under Sir Ralph Abercrombie. The island, which is 20 miles long by 12 miles wide, has 77,000 acres of land. It is of volcanic origin, with imposing mountain ridges which add considerably to the scenery. In one mountain there is a lake in a crater, 1,740 feet above sea level. St. George's is the capital. The harbour by that name is almost landlocked. The island is well watered and may well be termed the land of spices. In addition to spices, Grenada produces sugar on a moderate scale, also cacao and cotton, and is suited to stock raising. The climate is excellent. Grenada's revenue and trade are as follows. It's got it down there. What have we got next? The Bahamas? Yeah. Zoom in some more. Alright. So a favourite tourist resort. The Bahama Islands extend from the northeastern coast of Santo Domingo to the eastern coast of Florida. They comprise 29 islands, 661 cays, and fully 2,387 reefs, aggregating 4,466 square miles. The population is about 60,000. The principal islands are New Providence, with Nassau as the capital, Abaco, Long Island, Harbour Island, Inagua, Marijuana, Ragged Island, Rum Cay, Watlings Island, San Salvador, Cat Island, and Crooked Island. They were discovered in 1492 by Columbus, and in 1629 some of the islands were colonized by English settlers. The latter were frequently attacked by Spanish and French forces, and at one period, 1781, they were in the hands of Spain. The Bahamas are known for pineapple, sisal, sponge fishing, and salt. So there you go, saltfish. You already had salt. Some of the islands are outside the tropical zone. Nassau is the center of attraction for winter visitors from Canada and the United States. The city possesses large hotels, and those who go there for pleasure enjoy themselves to their heart's content. The trade is principally with North America. Within the past few years, the economic situation has become acute, no doubt as a result of war conditions, as also low wages. The result is that in 2 years, the colony has lost close upon 4,000 of what the late governor, Sir W. L. Allardyce, recently referred to as its most enterprising and able-bodied laborers. They have migrated to Florida. This steady exodus of the laboring population, as the governor went on to say, gives cause for alarm. Expenditure has within recent years exceeded revenue, but owing to the United States having gone dry, the rush of Americans to the sunny Bahamas has been greater than usual. They have made Nassau their headquarters, and the increased circulation of money has helped to make the place more prosperous. Larger sums have been collected on import duties, and the outlook is more satisfactory. A year or so ago, the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce placed itself on record as being in favor of political union with Canada. The colony enjoys representative government, there being a governor in executive committee, a legislative council, and a House of Assembly. So the sisal industry has been the mainstay of the Bahamas. During 1918, close upon £129,000 worth of the hemp was exported. So in 1918, the colony imported but £23,832 worth of goods from the United Kingdom, while it sent thither £23,497 worth of produce. Alright, so now we have the Caymans. So the Cayman Islands, Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac are under 200 miles northwest of Jamaica. They abound in timber, shipbuilding is carried on. For the Caymanians are essentially a seafaring people. They are industrious. Some of the best schooners that sail of the Caribbean are built by them. The islands are inhabited by well set up men and women, the population being over 6,000. So remember they told you that the Caribbean Indians were, excellent canoe makers. Same people. Um, okay, so the islands are inhabited by well set up men and women, the population being over 6,000, with the whites in the majority. Rope and basket making and turtling are some of the industries. The turtles prepared for many a Lord Mayor's banquet at the Guildhall are caught by Cayman fishermen in the Caribbean. Apart from their industrious habits, Caymanians are among the most moral people in the world. Pauperism is unknown in that dependency, while crime is at a very low ebb. Coconuts, sisal, and sugarcane are cultivated. Horses and cattle are bred, but not in large quantities. Phosphate deposits are there, but for some time past they have not been worked. Off the coast, pink pearls are sometimes found. So they said that they're good seafaring people, they have high morals, and crime's very low. It's the same thing they said about the Indians when they arrived. Same people, nothing really changed, just the names. Turks and Caicos Islands. The Turks and Caicos Islands lie immediately southeast of the Bahama Islands. They form part of the Bahama Group until 1848 when, under a charter, a legislative council elected by the islanders was established. So a change came in 1873 when they were linked up with Jamaica for administrative purposes. A commissioner resides in the dependency. The area of the islands is 169 square miles with a population of upwards of 5,000. The principal industry is salt, the annual output of this article being about 4,000 tons. So Turks Island salt is claimed to be the best in the world. Sisal is cultivated and shipped to the United States in large quantities. Small fish, canning factories, and the sponge industry are also exploited by Americans. So it goes on to say, turtle and fish are caught in abundance, while the soil responds readily to cultivation. Rainwater is collected for domestic purposes. The climate is good. All right, St. Kitts. Let's zoom in a bit. Okay. So St. Kitts, first christened St. Christopher by Columbus, was colonized in 1625 by Sir Thomas Warner. It is therefore one of the oldest British colonies in the Caribbean. It was there that British and French settlers had to join hands in a common cause against the Caribs and Spanish invaders. So when the British were in possession, raids by French ships were not infrequent. Indeed, it was not until 1783 that the attacks ceased and beautiful St. Kitts was allowed to enjoy peace as a possession of England. It is 63 square miles in area, with Basseterre as the capital. St. Kitts boasts of a mild yet bracing climate. Sea island cotton is its principal industry. For St. Kitts, like other West Indian colonies, was hard hit by the decline of sugarcane, for which it was famous years ago. The cane industry is however being revived thanks to the example of Antigua. In 1912 a factory on the same principle as that in Antigua was opened in St. Kitts, with very encouraging results. Its best year's output is close upon 12,000 tons of sugar. So Nevis. Nevis is only 3 miles distant. It is 50 square miles in area with a population of 13,000. Sea island cotton is an important item in its exports. It was at Nevis that Nelson married Mrs. Frances Nisbet on March 11, 1787. Nevis claims Alexander Hamilton, who drafted the American Constitution, as a son. The mineral baths of the island are highly spoken of. Alright, this is a huge one. Let me zoom in. Okay, let's pick that up. Okay. Alright, Barbados, a progressive people system of representative government. So Barbados lies on the eastern edge of the Caribbean Sea. It is with pride that a Barbadian will tell you that since his coral island became a British possession many years ago, it had been discovered by Portuguese mariners who simply named it Los Barbados and passed by, evidently not being impressed with the low-lying land. It has remained British. In many respects, Barbados occupies a unique position. Within her borders, 166 square miles, there are at least 200,000 persons, which makes the island one of the most thickly populated places in the world. The development of industries is carried out on the most scientific lines possible. The system of taxation is scientific, the means and not the necessaries of life being taxed in the matter of experiments in the production of the best kind of sugarcane cheese without a rival. So the Barbadian is a traveller, he is an observer, and despite the fact that the struggle for existence among the peasant class must of necessity be keen, it is safe to say that there is no more contented lot of people in the West Indies than the natives of Barbados. Doubtless the spirit of self-determination to work out the colony's salvation has been fostered by the privilege she has enjoyed since the Union Jack was hoisted there in 1606 even. She has adhered steadfastly to representative government, and she has done well. Many of the early settlers were men and women of high literary attainments, who brought with them the aspirations that helped to make Britain great. And in Barbados they planted seeds which have produced a people who are known for their industry, intelligence, and community of interest. She possesses a House of Assembly, to which each of the 11 or 12 electoral districts sends 2 representatives. There is a Legislative Council, which is the Barbadian, um, which is to the Barbadian what the House of Lords is to the man in the homeland. Then there is a governor and executive committee with an equal number of the people's representatives and officials to advise the chief executive in the preparation of the estimates. So Barbados has her speaker in the House of Assembly and mace bearer. The opening of the legislative chambers is marked by all the ceremonies that are observed in England. At the opening of Parliament, with one exception, the governor takes the place of the sovereign. So now they're going to go into agriculture. So Barbados is essentially an agricultural center. In the production of foodstuffs, canes, and cotton, she is ahead of any area of her size in the West Indies. Every square yard of close upon 80,000 acres of land available for agriculture is cultivated. There are upwards of 400 sugar estates. The majority of them are, it is true, very small, but in her worst year, Barbados has been able to produce not less than 50,000 tons of sugar, besides molasses and rum. Barbados has for more than 20 years been the headquarters of the Imperial Department of Agriculture in the West Indies, an institution which came into being when the Caribbean islands were passing through a period of economic depression through the gradual decline of cane sugar, the mainstay of every island of the group. So Barbados was the first place in which a variety of sugarcane, which gives 45 tons to the acre, was propagated, as against 23 tons obtained elsewhere by other varieties. Today Barbados seedling canes are being cultivated in the other colonies. Barbados was many years ago the home of cotton production, but it was abandoned to be revived, however, thanks to the efforts of the government, the Imperial Department of Agriculture, and the Cotton Growers Association of Manchester. So today cotton is produced and ginned in the island. When the colony was passing through a period of industrial stagnation, the imperial government, in addition to establishing the headquarters of the newly created Department of Agriculture in the West Indies there, made a grant of £80,000 to the government to assist agriculture. So this amount was used to form the nucleus of an agricultural bank, for which advances are made to planters. How well such an institution has worked is shown by the fact that there is a desire in Jamaica to organize a bank on similar lines. The colony is known for its yams, potatoes, and other articles of foodstuffs. Thousands of her sons migrated to Panama during the construction of the canal. In fact, Barbadians are to be found in almost every quarter of the globe, but the government has so conserved the interests of the people that very few persons from other lands are seen there. Chinese or Assyrians are not permitted to land to engage in business, as is the case with Jamaica or British Guyana. East Indian labourers are not to be found on the sugar plantations. It is the Barbadian first and least. This measure of protection does not admit of money earned in the colony by workers being sent to other countries. Her good roads, ancient-looking public buildings, her stately-looking cathedral college buildings and hotels add to the charm of the island. Barbados is one of the sanatoria of the West Indies. Her bracing climate is referred to by Froude as something that resembles good champagne. There is excellent sea bathing, and the drinking water is wholesome. Many English people, including retired colonial governors, make the island their home. So development. Barbados is regarded as a good field for petroleum. An English company is there prospecting for oil. A railway service is operated by the government, and the mule car service of Bridgetown is about to give way to electric trams. Barbados was the first West Indian colony to produce a newspaper, the first to appoint trading agents in England. She was one of the first colonies of the group to signify her intention of entering into a reciprocity treaty with Canada, by which she has been able to find a steady market for her sugar, molasses, and other produce. The latest returns give the following as the finances of the island. And there it is right here. So almost one half the number of ships that call at Barbados are British. The island is enjoying a period of prosperity as a result of the hearty cooperative spirit which characterizes all sections of the community. For the past 3 years, her sugar crops have yielded about £3 million. On almost every side, improvements are noticeable. So Barbadians appreciate the fact that modern machinery makes for greater efficiency, and consequently sugar manufacturers are augmenting their plants while the prices of sugar remain high. In the event of a drop in the market, scientific production will enable them still to earn profits. When an estate is sold there today, the price works out at more than £100 per acre. When the clash of arms came in 1914, Barbados lost no time in offering men to the motherland. When they say the motherland, they mean Britain. The offer was declined, but still undaunted, she pressed her claims, with the result that a united West Indian offer of troops reached the home government. It was accepted, hence the British West Indies Regiment. Barbados is anxious for improved shipping facilities with Canada and the mother country, and also better arrangements to supply ships with water and fuel at Carlisle Bay, the only shipping port. And the people are in favor of a federated West Indies. All right, so on that note, I remember Chief Inca mentioned this like a while ago that the people there, they were calling England the motherland before they were even really associating with Africa as their place of origin. Right? Still there, Inca.
To me, Copper, it sounds like the Queen has adopted us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if that place becomes your mother, then you become the child to that place. But yeah,
No wonder why all jurisdictions have to go through her first.
mm-hmm. So yeah, look, they were calling. Look, you was even calling Europe your motherland before this whole out of Africa thing. I mean, that's crazy to me. Like this thing that you're attached to now, this is recent. We're talking like not that many years ago. You started believing. Before that, you was calling Europe your motherland.
Yep. Facts. Facts.
You was calling cold, rainy England the motherland, and you literally had no mention of Africa.
Yeah. And that was part of the reason why why so-called we were told to come over to England or to Europe by the Queen, because that is your motherland. Come and build up the motherland, make her self-sustain again. So suck your mama pussy. You know, eh? I don't come from you, but what the hell are you talking about? Ain't my mother.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
what's
neither is
good?
Africa.
What's really good with all that, man?
You don't look the same. So how can you be my mother?
That's the concept of them colonizing. Like that's the home colony, right?
Sound like kidnap, Chad.
Basically it is. They deceived you and basically tricked you with trinkets and make it seem like you is now part of their colony now. Meaning they have right to come back home in concept, because now they had colonized. So that would be a homeland. It's the same thing they did with the Hindus as well. But we're seeing what happened over there now. Now it's just Caucasoid looking people who them depicting as being the Hindu, Caucasoid and Mongolian people.
Yeah.
But we all know the Jawa tribe and so on and so forth, right? Yeah, that's my take.
Straight up, man.
Facts.
There it is, man. All laid out easily, man. Oh, shout out to Crewmayo and Lacey Road as well. What's good?
Mayo in the building.
Oh boy. All right. So let's keep going, man. But look, you can already see here. Look, they're telling you how plentiful this. Remember, this is just one section of the American continent. Yeah, the islands are
This
just one small section, and they're telling you like how abundant it is with resources. All this stuff was already there. They're not telling you it was brought over. They're telling you it was in cultivation, meaning it was of the land already.
Facts.
It was already there. Like they didn't need anyone to bring any of this stuff over. It was just there. They came and it was there. That's why they're so interested in the place today.
Facts.
All right, where are we up to now? Okay, so we're up to Antigua. So, oh wait, have I done Antigua already? I think I have. Yeah, I have done Antigua already. Trinidad. Let's zoom into this one here.
With Trinity.
All right. Okay, Trinidad. So, a prosperous colony, development of the oil industry. So Trinidad is the southernmost colony in the chain of West Indian islands proper. being situated 10 degrees north of the equator between the 61st and 62nd degrees of west longitude. She is the second largest island of the group and the most prosperous. She is rich in soil, vegetation, and minerals. Situated close to the mainland of South America, possessing extensive petroleum fields, and with modern facilities at Port of Spain for the handling of cargo, it has been singled out by the Committee on Shipping in the Caribbean after the war as the headquarters for West Indian shipping. The land of the hummingbird, as Trinidad was called by the Caribs who inhabited the island, was discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1498. Like Jamaica and the majority of the West Indian possessions of the Crown, Trinidad is mountainous, intersected with ravines and plains, all of which abound in luxuriant vegetation. The scenery is gorgeous. Above sunny skies, around the island, glassy sea, sloping hills, rich foliage, avenues of palms. You marvel on part of the little islands that rise sentinel-like off the coast at such sites as the Gulf of Paria, which segregates Trinidad from the Republic of Venezuela, the 4 or 5 channels at the northern entrance known as the Dragon's Mouth, each of the 4 islands at the entrances rising as someone has written, like a jewel from the sea. To the south is the Serpent's Mouth, then comes Port of Spain, nestling below lofty peaks, with hills and valleys in the distance, clothed in nature's garb and looking resplendent under a tropical sun. In 1797, Trinidad passed from Spanish control into the hands of Britain, the Spanish governor having capitulated to an expedition headed by Admiral Harvey and General Sir Ralph Abercrombie. So Sir Walter Raleigh had, however, visited it years before when he was on what is recorded as his ill-starred expedition to the El Dorado, Guyana. Raleigh attacked St. Joseph, one of the coast towns of Trinidad, and burnt it. It was from close to her shores that Nelson chased the French fleet through the West Indies across the Atlantic to Trafalgar. So Trinidad contains 1,860 square miles and is 55 miles in length. Her industries are many. Her population is about 400,000. Of this number, 1/3 consists of East Indians. About 1857, borings for petroleum were made by an American concern, but the venture was not successful. In 1866, another start was made at Brighton, and at a depth of 160 feet, small deposits of oil were found. The weekly output being from 50 to 60 gallons. So in 1901, Mr. Randolph Rust and others took up the question, with the result that operations were commenced on extensive lines. Success crowned the efforts of these concerned. In the financial year 1914 to 15, 36,753,931 gallons of petroleum were handled. So today, there are at least 70 oil wells in the colony, the product of each being from the heavy asphaltic to light oils. Refineries have been established to manufacture gasoline, kerosene, and other oils. And today, the Trinidad product is being placed on the market of the neighboring islands. In 1917, 35,805,505 gallons of petroleum were exported. In 1918, 41,132,837 gallons, and in 1919, 46,017,819 gallons. The increase of sugar in Trinidad is satisfactory. From 10,000 tons in the years gone by, it has advanced steadily until last year the output was considerably over 50,000 tons. So in the second year of the war, the sugar industry was worth to Trinidad more than 1 million sterling. Large quantities of molasses are exported along with sugar to Britain and Canada. So Trinidad cocoa has won its way to popular favor. In 1814, about 1,254 tons were exported. In 1915, a high water mark was reached, 24,000 tons being shipped to British markets at a price of at least 2 millions. Last year, more than 24,000 tons were sent abroad. Trinidad produces coconuts by the millions each season. Last year, 30 million nuts were exported. The famous Angostura bitters come from Trinidad. Then there is the asphalt industry at La Brea. The pitch lakes are one of the wonders of the country. The lakes cover about 100 acres of ground, and the royalty obtained by the government from the product exceeds £60,000 per annum. Trinidad is the only colony in the Caribbean proper that possesses a floating dock, an up-to-date repair plant, and a line of steamers owned in the colony. So the vessels ply between the Eastern Caribbean and North America, and Trinidad thus enjoys the distinction of being able to put her produce on the American market much cheaper, as regards freight, than any other colony in the group. The social features. The island is well provided with hotels, clubs and golf links. The savannah is the centre of gaiety at race, meetings, cricket or other sports which attract many persons to Port of Spain. Her rivers, pools and waterfalls, the Diego Martin and Maracas Falls, the Blue Basin with its beautiful cascade in the midst of the most luxuriant tropical vegetation are worth seeing. Port of Spain is provided with an excellent water supply, the headworks being at Maribor. Being an agricultural colony, no effort is spared in the training of young men in matters relating to that industry. Agricultural societies preach the gospel of production and cooperation. An extensive government stock farm is maintained, where cattle and horses of high grade are offered at public auction yearly. The botanical gardens attached to the agricultural department and a monastery on the hills are among the institutions that have helped to advance agriculture, and it is the desire of the government and people that a West Indian agricultural college should be created here, to which not only lads from the Caribbean colonies, but those of other tropical lands could be sent to learn scientific agriculture. So they're talking about sending other people to go there to learn how to farm properly. Her railway system does its share in the development of trade. It is to be extended, water supply is to be provided for villages, and harbour works are to be undertaken at a cost of £500,000. Trinidad's requirements in these three directions will cost fully £2,750,000, for which alone will be floated. So now they go on to Tobago. Tobago, 19 miles from the coast of Trinidad, is a dependency of the latter. It is 26 miles long with an area of 11,459 square miles and a population of upwards of 20,000. So Scarborough, the capital, is situated on a slope of the hill. The island was discovered in 1497 by Columbus. First inhabited by Caribs, it became the haunt of pirates, and in the 17th century it changed hands 7 times. At one time the Duke of Courland was in supreme command there. Early British settlers were massacred by Caribs. Its shores were witnesses to sanguinary battles between British, French and Dutch for supremacy. One of those engagements occurred in Scarborough Harbour and resulted in a French fleet gaining a victory over the Dutch. The island was finally ceded in Britain in 1814 and in 1888 became a dependency of Trinidad. Its natural scenery is as glorious as that of the last named island. The hills, valleys and plains on which men fought and died to achieve fame now abound in coconuts, cacao, sugar, rubber. At one time it was famous for indigo. And pasture lands. It is well watered. Man of War Bay, one of the finest harbours in the world, is there. Little Tobago, which lies to the east, is owned by Sir William Ingram of London, who also owns large estates in Trinidad. Oh, right. So, Virgin Islands. The Virgin Islands are many in number, all in close proximity to Puerto Rico. Some are narrow, snake-like islands, the names of the principal being Portola, Jost Van Dyke, Virgin Gorda, Peters Island, Anegade, Scrub Island, Beef Island, Salt Island, Sombrego, Saba, and Saint Eustatius, forming about 60 square miles, low-lying and principally inhabited by peasants. Cotton is cultivated and also a small quantity of cacao and sugar. There is a copper mine at Virgin Gorda, which at one time gave good results. Small stock is plentiful and cattle are also to be found there. The population is small and many of the people go to some of the greater Antilles, Santo Domingo for instance, to work on plantations. Montserrat. So Montserrat was colonized in 1632 and changed ownership twice. It contains 42 square miles with a population of 12,500. It is noted for its lime juice and cotton, and now sugar bids fair to occupy a high place in the list of exports. Fruit preserving plants are in operation in the island, and a thriving business is being carried on. The therapeutic value of the mineral springs helps to make the island a health resort. Irish settlers were introduced into the colony, and the natives have cultivated a habit of speaking with an Irish accent. Not quite 2 years ago, Montserrat exported cotton to the value of £60,305. Dominica. Okay. Dominica, the largest island of the group, remained in the hands of the Caribs for fully 200 years after its discovery. In the 17th century, it was the scene of several engagements between British and French forces. Off its coast, Rodney defeated a French fleet commanded by de Grosse. The fight is known in West Indian history as the Glorious 12th of April, 1782. Dominica, which has a population of about 40,500 souls, among whom are hundreds of full-blooded Caribs, is mountainous, with numerous streams and magnificent waterfalls. See, they snitch all the time. 200. What was it? How many did they say is there? 40,500. Alright. It's mountainous with numerous streams and magnificent waterfalls. The lime, cacao, citrus, spices, and woods are well developed. Coffee was many years ago extensively cultivated, but it has dwindled considerably as the result of a blight. So one of the sites of the island is a boiling lake. Dominica is a splendid health resort, especially for persons suffering from bronchial troubles. The island is less than 100 miles south of Antigua. It is 29 miles long by 15 miles in width, with 186,240 acres of land, though about 70,000 of which are under cultivation. Lastly, we have St. Lucia. Okay, so St. Lucia was discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1502. It became a French settlement and for years was the subject of disputes between British and French. It capitulated in 1762 to Admiral Rodney and General Monckton, was returned to France by the Treaty of Paris, was captured again in April 1794 by Lord St. Vincent's fleet, recaptured by French Republican forces in the following year, again taken in 1802 by General Abercrombie, Sir John Moore of Corunna fame, and Colonel Drummond, once more however to fall into the hands of the French until 1814 when it was ceded to Britain. The St. Lucia is mountainous, with a volcanic crater and sulfur springs. It has an area of 233.5 square miles and is well watered. More than half of the island is cultivated. In order to increase the population, which is about 52,000 lands, have been offered by the government to cultivators at a very small figure. The island is capable of still greater development, although sugar, cacao, limes and other commodities are produced. A factory and the preparation of essential oil and lime juice was established there some years ago on the profit-sharing principle. It has been a success, and for its introduction, a word of praise must be given the Imperial Department of Agriculture in the West Indies. The spirit of cooperation is strong in the island. The customs of the natives are still French, a patois being spoken by the peasants. When war broke out in 1914, the faded glory of St. Lucia as a naval and military base was revived. Well, not only was the island fortified, troops being sent there from Canada, but it was a base for cruisers and other warcraft that did duty in the Eastern Caribbean. Several German supply ships were captured and taken to Castries. The island's revenue at the close of the financial year 1918 to 19 was £70,576. Expenditure £81,234. Public debt was £150,580. Imports were £416,968 and exports were £337,195. Alright. I'm gonna have to cut the stream here, but what I will do for everyone is next week is going to be the revision session of the last 4 episodes that we've done so far, and so we're just going to be giving out links and showing you the stuff that we was looking at over those last 4 episodes. So just by chance, if nobody's watched any of them or they really wanted the links for certain things, we're going to be handling all of that on the next show, and then I will tie up this subject as well because there's only have a few more links there that was there to go through. So that's what the next show will look like for you. So then, yeah, next week's show will just be a catch up with all the things we've been discussing so far and to get up to this point now. Let's go and see what's going on in the chat. Oh, what's good, Ron? So Ron's in here as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, just from the stream that we've done so far, like people should be able to see that this is a very abundant place. And when I say I'm talking about the Americas.
Facts.
It has everything it's ever needed, from the beginning of time. Like I just literally went through all of the islands of one part of the continent.
Implication that we never needed them in the first place.
Exactly.
That's why they were forcing their way over here and they're still doing it. But they're making we believe that over there is the land of greatness, which is Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Which Africa is a sandbox.
Desert.
Facts.
Dead land. Wasteland.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I mean, you should get it by now. I mean, I know most people watching this already do, but for whoever comes to find the video, you had everything you needed from the beginning. You didn't need to be stolen from another place to bring stuff with you. That's just not the case.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need to do that, and it didn't happen like that.
Yeah.
People were sent to the Americas, but it wasn't to carry produce and crops. It was for other reasons to do with their content of character as a person, rather than what they could bring there.
But Kappa, what I always use as an example is, see me tell him, so we're living at the UK, which is Europe, and this place is nothing but a fucking desert. Nothing grows there. Just wild bush.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
And you can't literally plant anything inside the earth over here. It will never grow. What they do is like, Kappa and Tata must know me about this black thing that look like crocus bag where them lie down first.
Yeah.
Then them put the soil, alright. Then them add or them put this green mesh. Then them add the soil on top. They never just plant anything down in the earth like that. I'm always ask, why is that?
Because they damage the soil. They had been over years, them polluting the soil, so the soil has reached a state where it cannot return. So them have to separate this clean soil from so it don't get contaminated.
This place is nothing but a desert, a concrete jungle. Nothing grows here. Nothing flourishes here. All you see here is just oak trees, fig trees, wild bushes, berries. Not like in the Americas. Everywhere you go, you see a little fruit tree here and there. Over here is just fruitless trees. Let's put it that way. Everywhere.
Facts.
Exactly. Yeah. So on
like it's even compulsory for like every Caribbean person, especially Jamaican, say you have a fruit tree, some kind of tree that produce something in your backyard.
I find that very odd.
They don't understand those concepts. Even when they live out here, they don't do it. If you go to a caucus, they don't have no fruit tree. If anything, is a little garden where them have. You see me?
Always flowers. One bag of flowers.
Because the concept of beauty, that they see that as beauty, they don't understand why our ancestors did these things. So this is why they only use aspects of what they deem. You see me? As relevant.
Yeah, peeps. But yeah, I got cut out right now. But
yeah,
it was good. It was good just to be able to go live anyway. Just make a start with this. But yeah, like I said, we'll tie this up next week, and then we'll go over some revision over the last few episodes and give you guys all the links and just go over some old notes and stuff like that. So thank you to the panel as always for being out here. Thank you to everyone in the comment section for being out here. And yeah, everything's good. So just take care of yourselves until next time, and we're out.
Peace and much love, family.
Peace.
Gotta push it to the limit, even though it's gonna feel like nobody else is with it. Still the charge is exquisite. I'm baking under the sun. Her moonlight got me caught up in her vision, got me killing oppositions. Never competition, never heard of that. Prepare strap, shoot them every sentence. I've been over rap, no looking back. Ain't no intermission. Hard body tracks over wax to the fifth dimension. Gone. That's in every song. Standing up strong, past 3 in the morning. Maneuver through outer space every time I'm in zone. Establishing every trace as I sit on the throne. Feel me switching up the pace from the album before. Losing my foes, haters exposed, niggas is clones. And I be hot damn to be a fool of my own. How you talking about the moves and everybody is stone, huh? Cause the flow is on some hot shit, left coast pot shit. Monsters like the Loch Ness, stop it. I keep the rhyme like an object. Building is a progress, forever on the process. Profits, I speak the word like a prophet or someone that God sent. Never on that gossip, not this. You still cut without it.